Good night, thanks again for tuning into yet another video. Infamous coming at you live from the West Coast yet again, San Jose, California. So another beautiful day. I believe summer has officially started today, right? The 21st of June. I really don't know, but man, it's a beautiful day. I got off of work. I motovlogged this video, first impressions, last week or so, and so anyways, I filmed it. I don't know what happened to the footage. I'm not too sure what happened with the footage. So this is my re-filming of, or re-motovlogging of my first impressions, and then we'll pull over so you guys can look at the bike. So this is the first impressions of a FXLRST Fairing on a Sportster. You heard that right, Sportster 1200. So I was just mentioning earlier, you know, that I'm just so surprised, completely surprised on how well this fairing fits the bike. All right, I know I made a video after my first impressions about how you shouldn't be doing this on your bike, or especially on a Sportster, or you shouldn't be spending this kind of money on a Sportster. But you know what, like I said, the bike handles amazing. All right, I don't know what it is. I was just mentioning in the previous video, my FXRT fairing on my lowrider S did not handle as good as this is handling. I really don't know what's going on. I'm completely amazed. Like I mentioned earlier, I was having second thoughts. I was having second thoughts. I was considering not doing this on the Sportster because of how dramatic my lowrider S was handling after the FXRT fairing install. That FXRT is from Dominator. So I was just mentioning how dramatic the fairing was making my bike handle on the lowrider S, and of course that's a 114. That's a 1800cc bike. This of course is a 1200. My lowrider S has it's pushing 115 horsepower, 130 foot-pounds of torque. This is half of that. You know, I believe I got somewhere like 70 something horsepower and 90 foot-pounds of torque or something like that on the bike. But then again, you know, weight wise, this is sub 600, sub maybe 570, with the fairing, the LP6, the Plex audio, and then the little knockoff trash and supply bags. So anyways, I'm just completely amazed how great the bike's handling. I can't stress that enough. I've taken it on the freeway doing, did I hit 100 miles per hour? I did not. I think I peaked at 97 miles per hour. The bike, the fairing just cuts right through wind. It just completely cuts right through wind. I'm having zero buffeting all the way up to 100, like I mentioned. Wind noise minimal. Just phenomenal the way the fairing fits on the bike, and the way that the bike has been handling. Like I said, it doesn't feel top heavy. It doesn't feel odd or anything like that. It doesn't feel sluggish. That's what I'm just so amazed about. That's what I'm just so I'm just fascinated how well my Sportster 1200, you know, is handling this gigantic fairing. People in the videos have left comments that the fairing is too small for the toy models or the big V twins. I really don't see it. I really think the FXLRST fits the Softails just so good. I mean, it's a beautiful fairing. It is. And you know, functionality, everything about it is great. The ventilation, the windscreen options. I do have a flared windshield on this thing. I'm currently painting that, of course. You know, just everything about it. The little wind deflectors down here at the bottom. I'm just completely amazed on how well the bike is handling. Oh, there's loose gravel here, so we got to be a little bit cautious. So I mean, the bike, you guys can see it, right? This thing shakes like nothing else. All right, you can see my handlebars. All right, it's a rubber mounted V-twin Evo fuel injected EFI. It's a EFI fuel injected 2016 Sportster Roadster. All right, so you have, of course, modified, or not modified, but we have the full rear fender, and we have the 4.5 gallon tank on this thing. You guys can look at it. It shakes, all right? It shakes, and I love it. All right, so first impressions, I believe the bike looks good. I don't know, everybody's having their 2 cents on social media. Of course, if you guys follow me on Instagram, on TikTok, people, I mean, it's 50-50. People absolutely hate it, and then there's the other group that absolutely love what the bike looks like, or what the bike is. Of course, you guys can see it's got a custom paint, matches all the way through. I'm currently painting the windshield. That's flared Panzoma. You know, it's not Clockworks, it's flared. It's 2+ over stock, so it sits higher. I wrote it with that in the original first impressions video, but because of I don't know, the video footage got corrupted, or I'm not too sure, but I gotta keep this GoPro moving or else it overheats. The Hero 12, I believe. But you guys can see it shakes. All right, I mean, it's a rubber mounted V-twin Evo, of course. The bike just handles phenomenal, guys. I can't tell you enough. Yes, it's got a 5-speed transmission. You know, it's got some limitations. It's a Sportster, but this fairing, I'm just amazed. I'm just completely amazed compared to my FXRT. I believe the reason why it shakes this much is because the LP6, which is just a 5-pound light. I believe that's because it's mounted directly onto the fairing. I believe that's the reason why this whole thing shakes. All right, so there's a couple issues. Of course, when I got it from TCMT, one of the pieces was broken. One of the clips on the inside of the fairing, it's a plastic. It was damaged during shipping. It's not, I saw the Advent Black. I saw an Advent Black video unboxing, and it wasn't as packaged as well. I guess you could say it wasn't packaged as well as the Advent Black. All right, so like I mentioned, this is a 2022 to 2024 FXLRST kit from TCMT. I got it, of course, on sale. It was $560 shipping, taxes, and everything. I mean, I got it for a steal. But I'll just show you. You can see here the bottom bracket. All right, I had to swap my engine guard. I'll do a whole video on this whole setup. But just, you know, not only did one of the pieces up here normally was broken, of course. You can see that lower bracket. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but you can see the lower bracket bumps into my forks. I have inverted forks, so they're thicker. I just don't know if it's going to fit with the regular Sportster, but I can't do a full tilt on the front end because of the lower bracket. So I gotta relocate that stuff. Just a couple cons. I gotta relocate or add spacers. I'm gonna move this bracket over by 1.5 inches just so I could have a full tilt or full rotation of my front end, as a, you know, just a precaution. I mean, it doesn't get in the way as in low speed maneuvering, but when I'm, you know, trying to back it up into a tight spot, that's when I'm doing like a 3-about turn. So you guys can see how just great the bike handles with the fairing. And like I mentioned, it's just phenomenal. The wind protection and zero buffeting, you know, with both windshields. I have the flared windshield. I think between the flared and this one, I did notice a little bit improved wind noise with the flared windshield. But I mean, even with the OEM, the bike just handles amazing. I'm just completely amazed compared to my FXRT fairing, how better it handles. So I'm not entirely sure if it's because it's lighter. I mean, they both feel similar. They both feel similar to me. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I really don't know. I don't know. I know after I had installed the FXLRS, the FXRT fairing on my Lowrider S, I knew I had to go up to a stage 2 because the additional weight And remember that LP6 weighs in at about 5 pounds. So you have that, then of course you have the bracket, and then you have the fairing itself. I really don't think it weighs that much, but I really don't know what it is. It just seems like this fairing is just handling so much better. Maybe because it cuts right through wind. Maybe that's what it is. And then the FXRT it's just like, it's bulky, it's wide, it's massive. The FXLRST fairing, it's more sleek in design and it's more aerodynamic. So maybe that's what it is. That's probably what that is. Maybe it's just better engineered than the FXRT, and it just handles so much better than the FXRT. Like I mentioned, it just cuts right through wind. It cuts right through that. So I guess I'm gonna compare it to like having a big rig, huge, and it's flat on the front end, and then you get something that's a little bit more sleek, aerodynamic, and it cuts right through wind. So that's where I believe that's probably the main difference. Because as far as weight, this is a 3-piece fairing. You have the rear part of the fairing, or the support of the fairing. What is this? The inner fairing, and then you have this top piece up here. That piece, that's where you put the Rockford Fosgate system. And then you have the outer fairing, which is the front piece. And I believe all three of those parts together feels heavier than the FXRT fairing, but I'm not entirely sure. Of course, this is ABS material. My FXRT is fiberglass. So I really don't know, guys. It's just, this one just feels so much more responsive. I don't know. All right, the fairing is handling amazing, even with the additional weight of the fairing, the Plex audio, and the LP6. The Plex audio system, if I remember correctly, weighs in about 12 pounds. The LP6, so just the Plex audio and the LP6, you're looking at about 17-20 pounds, plus the bracket and the FXLRST fairing. So I'm guessing it's similar to my Lowrider S, you know, about 20 to 30 pounds, 25 pounds to 30 pounds of additional weight on the front end. But I also have, of course, the inverted forks on this thing. Okay, so it just, man, the fairing it's just phenomenal, guys. It's absolutely probably the best that Harley has right now for you know, for cutting through wind right now. As far as I guess aftermarket, because the Street Glide and the Road Glide, they handle just as great. All right, it's just that, of course, yeah, the Street Glide, it's a much bigger fairing on the Street Glide. I think the FXLRST fairing, it's one of, like I said, one of the best things Harley has done recently. I'm not a huge fan of the Road Glide look, the new 2024, but it is growing on me. I just think this looks a tad bit better than the Road Glide. I think the Street Glide is still one of the best looking fairings out there, the Batwing. So as far as, like I said, buying this from Avant Black, you're looking at $1,400 to $1,700 depending on the color match and stuff like that. I think it's a well investment. It's a good investment for someone that likes to ride a little bit more long range. This is something that I mentioned in my FXRT review video, as far as should you get it, should you not get it. My reasoning for this, of course, is I got it on sale, $600, taxes and ship. Great deal, everything. I got the windshield, I got everything for it. Windshield, the bracket, the fairing. I think the one thing that I did not get was the headlight ring from TCMT, but I think they sent me everything, because I even had the screws for the LP6 to bolt on. So they sent me everything. $600, a good deal. That's, you know, reason number one, of course. And reason number two is I got it just so I could, you know, see what it looks like. You know, nobody has a Sportster with the FXLRST fairing on it. I wanted to see, or I wanted to be one of the first ones to have it. So maybe, yes, it's a little dumb, but hey, I like modifying and wrenching on my bikes. All right, if you guys have been following the channel, you guys know that this bike has already gone through 3 different transformations, 4 if you include the OEM. the cafe racer look. So it's gone through quite a few phases. But like I mentioned in the FXRT fairing, I mean, this is a fairing that I mean, yes, it's nice, it's a good looking fairing, it's great for wind protection, noise and stuff like that. But I would say if you're considering it, because I mean it is a big price point, it's a big investment. We're talking plus 1,400 bucks. I'm saying if you're riding somewhere like maybe 40%, maybe 30%, I say maybe more 40%. If you're riding 40% highway, maybe even 30%, meaning you're doing 60% city, which is what I'm doing right now. This is city riding, and then maybe 30% highway, you might want to consider it. All right, and I've mentioned in previous videos, right, as you get older, the wear and tear in your body, you know, it adds up. I'm pushing 40 now. Riding this bike long range with no fairing, it was quite bad. All right, I'm gonna say that. All right, whenever I had to take a fuel break or I had to stop for fuel, I really welcome the fuel stops. And then of course taking an additional 20 minutes sitting down and, you know, taking my time, depending on if you're riding on high winds and stuff like that. But I welcome the stops on this thing before, of course, adding a fairing on the bike. As you get older, of course, you'll start to have these aches and pains, and that's what was happening with me. The day after my long ride on the Sportster, I was hurting. All right, I had to take some leave so I could go back to work and stuff like that and get stuff done. I had to take some leave, and that helped me out, and that got me through the day. But having, you know, this, I've mentioned before, it's the difference of riding long range and then being able to enjoy the time once you arrive to your destination. Maybe it's 4 hours, maybe it's 6 hours, maybe it's a 6-hour ride. Without, you know, proper wind protection, you're gonna need a day to rest. And then after that resting period, then you'll start getting onto the activities or whatever you're doing, or wherever you're going, or if you're going to a rally or you're going to a meetup or something like that. So man, the fairing handles well, guys. All right, as I said, the minor cons, of course, is the bracket's not meant for this bike, the lower bracket. So I'm looking forward to what Advan Black releases. They haven't released their kit as of yet, but they have announced that they will be releasing a kit for Sportster soon. So maybe they'll have alternatives as far as mounting this on your Sportster, which would be nice. All right, it takes a lot of the guesswork out. Like I mentioned, I had to weld the bracket myself. I had to do a lot of fitting, adjusting, you know, holding it up against the bike, seeing where it's going to sit at. I had a different placement for the fairing, but I just wasn't a huge fan of the way it looked, the gap between the fuel tank and the fairing. If you guys seen Advan Black's Road King kits, I believe it's a little bit out there. I'm not a huge fan of it sitting too far out of the bike. I like having it close and tight. I think I have about half an inch still. I'd say probably half an inch of clearance between my forks, because like I said, I have inverted forks, so my front end is a bit wider compared to the stock front end on Sportsters. But like I said, I mean, these are modifications that I had to do and I had to fabricate, and I knew I was going to get into this, right? But like I mentioned, paying sub 600 bucks for this thing, I knew the risks and I took it. So I figured, you know what, I'll be able to figure it out, because I've been doing it for this Roadster. Not a lot of manufacturers build aftermarket parts for this bike. There's not that many out there. Even the Road Warrior fairing, I had to modify and fit that in there. The Plex Audio, I had to modify and fit that on there with the Road Warrior. But getting on to, I guess, the first impressions of the windshield, the flared Panzoma windshield, 150 bucks, got it on sale. It handled great. All right, like I said, I noticed the wind noise between that and your OEM was improved. I also have the Power James LP6 bracket for this bike. 50 bucks, guys, $50, and it's a well built bracket. I'm just surprised how thick and machined and how proper it is. Just the same thing with the TCMT fairing. It doesn't squeak, it doesn't rattle, or there's nothing like that. There's no odd noises coming out of this fairing. The fairing is built well. It's precise. I was mentioning that in the other video, because my FXRT needed a dyno matting so I could get rid of some of that rattling noise. I haven't had this issue with this bike, so I'm really quite amazed for the money how well everything's handling. Like I said, the LP6 bracket Power James, I'll have links in the video so you guys can take a look. And then of course you guys can see the Plex audio fits snug with this setup. It fits snug. I've been getting questions about the Plex audio system fitting with your FXRT fairing. It does not fit. All right, I've been getting questions about it. People have been wondering. It'll fit if it's straight like this, but as soon as you turn the front end just a little bit, the back of the Plex audio system runs into your FXRT fairing. With the FXLRST and the Plex audio system, it fits. It's perfect. Right? There's no issues with clearance at all. So the Plex audio system, if you already have the Plex audio system and you bought it for your Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing or something like that, you've already purchased it and you still have the FXRT, the Plex audio, you don't have to, of course, swap out your audio system, because this is going to work with your FXLRST purchase or upgrade or whatever you want to call it. So I think I'm going to sign out. You guys can take a look at it one more time. The ugly side, of course, you guys can see it's shaking crazy. I'm just wondering if the JB weld's gonna hold up because of just how much shake it's got. I mentioned in the other video, this plastic piece here is what broke during shipping. There's a little plastic trim. I don't know if it's because TCMT is using a different blend of ABS, but it just felt too rigid to me. So that's what I'm concerned about. It's just how much this thing shakes, and I'm wondering if Advent Black's going to be able to address potentially that issue with these Sportsters, because look how much it shakes. So I'm wondering if it could, if the plastic, because it's so rigid, I wonder if it could take all the vibration of the bike. So like I mentioned, right here, this broke. I added JB weld onto all of it, all where you bolt in. If you guys see the install video, you guys will be able to see how much JB weld I put onto it as a precaution, because I'm not sure if it's going to be able to withstand all the vibration. So we'll just have to find out as we go. I mean, I also have the repair kit. Like I said, I repaired it myself, sanded it, prepped the surface, and then I added the JB weld. And I added quite a bit of it just as a precaution. There's the plastic JB weld, which is flexible, and then I added another rigid JB weld, and we'll see if it holds up. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure. As I mentioned earlier in the other video, on the Facebook market, on the Facebook group, on the Advent Black group page, somebody broke this piece. All right, so I'm not too sure if that was because of, I got to keep on saying this, because it's Loctite. You have to be cautious when you're adding Loctite to raw ABS, like what's inside of this fairing. I made the mistake. I added Loctite onto my saddlebags. I let it drip. I let it sit, and then that's what happened. The Loctite ate away the ABS on my saddlebags, and it ruined my saddlebags. So that's one thing. If you're adding Loctite, try to clean up. All right, don't leave Loctite on the plastic on the inside of this thing. It is raw plastic, and it's going to eat away at your fairing, and it's going to ruin it. All right, so that's pretty much it. You guys can check it out. There's the LP6. This is one of the cons to the LP6. You don't have to trim with the Power James option. There's no trimming required, but the light sticks out just way too much for my liking. I don't like how much this thing sticks out. So I'm going to try to remodify that bracket. I'm going to try to install it on the back side of the fairing. I do have another bracket that connects directly onto the main bracket. So maybe I'm going to try both. I'm going to try relocating this bracket to the back side. It'll move it about 1/2 inch inside of the fairing, so it'll be a little bit closer, and I'll still be able to have the functional outer lighting of the LP6. You guys can see I've added these little eyelids on my LP6 just to prevent blinding oncoming traffic. But you guys can, you know, check it out, man. I'm really taken back. I really like the fairing. I enjoy it. I've been like I said, I'm just really amazed on how well the fairing's been handling compared to my $2,000 FXRT fairing. And you know, it's just the weight, the engineering of the fairing. Harley-Davidson did a really good job with this. So life's a risk. Thanks for tuning in. Life's a risk. Get out there and ride. Later.